Good evening, our dear audience from the headquarters of Iowa City Community School District and our host studios of Iowa Public Access TV. I welcome you tonight, a new episode of Education Exchange. My guest tonight needs no introduction because you have met him many times. He never hesitated to come every time we call on him to come and explain things to us. Our Chief Community Affairs Relations Officer, as well as our Chief Human Resources Officer, Dr. Chase Ramey. Chase is with us tonight. Number one, I got a lot of hats here, by the way.
Well,
and you wear many hats, more than me. So if you do, I don't think you need more.
First off, I'm not sure anybody wears more hats than you do, Hani. I never see you in the same one twice, but thank you for that. I'll pass on
So
on the
now
hat
this
tonight.
is a new hat. You are now the Chief Community Relations Officer.
Yes.
Which is a huge task.
It is.
In addition, of course, to your original job as an eminent leader of the Human Resources Department.
It's enjoyable though, and like everything else, I don't do it alone. The superintendent saw an opportunity for us to be efficient in our operations with the departure of Kate Moreland. Kate was a fantastic resource for the district and just a fantastic resource and leader for the community of Iowa City. And so very difficult to replace what she did, and we're just trying to build on that foundation, but saw a way that we could utilize the structure we already had in place and put some things in motion that would allow us to continue that work by also being good stewards of the taxpayers' money. So we combined my role with her role and added a couple pieces to my group to help us be able to accomplish all of those tasks. And it's been busy, kind of crazy, but also very enjoyable.
But do you find some time to rest? And I know that you are in sports and all that. Mm-hmm. Do you find some time to exercise and sleep and rest? Seriously?
Exercise, yes. I like to run and swim, and so try to make time for that on a daily basis. And of course, socialize, have fun with my friends, see my family. So I think it's important to have a strong work-life balance, and that's one thing that has been important to me when I was in the HR role and moving into the communications role. We've been able to continue to make that a focus of what we're doing. We're looking at staff wellness along with our student wellness as something that we think is important. And because of what you just said about exercising, about resting, about having things outside of your professional life, I think that's crucial. For our folks to be happy when they're at work, they need to be happy in the other things that are going on. And so we need to allow them the space to do that. And so I try to practice that a little bit myself. My team will tell you I work too much and don't do enough of those other things, but I do okay.
Yeah, I remember seeing a program about the Silicon Valley companies when they started, like 20 years ago or something, and all those young people would use half an hour in the morning gymnastics and or doing some workout. And it was a new philosophy, but you start your day with exercise, and it paid off.
I hope.
There's no doubt it did pay off. So you're now trying to implement this as well in schools, so that teachers would be, physically.
Yes, we're just trying to provide opportunities and make sure that our staff knows that we think that's important, and that wellness is one of those things that that not only resonates in your personal life, but it can resonate in your professional life. And we have a wellness committee that works with our insurance committee, and over the last year we've developed a couple programs, and we continue to expand that. Kristen Peterson, who came to a new role for me in the communication side, is leading a lot of those efforts with Susie Polton. And we started a health fair a couple of years ago, a wellness fair. We do wellness screenings every winter, and this spring we are unveiling a new project we're calling a STEP Challenge, where we're going to have a district-wide competition among staff members to measure the number of steps they're going to take over a multi-week period. They don't know all the details yet, so I'm kind of putting it out on the table early. Kristen will be a little upset with me, but we think it'll be great. We've partnered with CORE here in CORE
It's
Fitness
good that
Centers.
we have a piece of news.
Yeah, right. I mean, so we've got a great partnership with CORE to help provide some of the prizes. I'll keep those secret for right now, but we think it's going to be a really neat way to develop some friendly competition, to advocate and publicize the importance of health for our employees inside the organization. So we're really looking forward to it as one of the new things we're doing this spring for our staff.
And as you grow, maybe in the future, you can bring some of the retired folks, to compete too.
Of course, people that want to participate. Yes, for sure.
A kind of a different Olympia.
Right.
So that's wonderful. Now, you see, in front of me, I have a list of a lot of things, and within the limited time I have, I will try to focus on a few things.
Sure.
I was very impressed by the way you personally and the district in general initiated these connections with the Teachers Association. And I think I mentioned many times in this program that over the years I have noticed that there is always this tension between the Teachers Society or Association and the administration in general. And since you started this policy, or I have to give credit to the current superintendent and his team, this has changed completely, and I see kind of harmony and mutual understanding between you and the workers in the district, whether they are teachers or physical plant workers or custodians, whatever. So I want you to tell me about this a little bit. How did it work,
First off, I thank you for that, and thank you on behalf of the superintendent. Cultivating those relationships is something that's very important to us, and that is the key piece, is building those relationships, having those honest conversations, even when they're on tough topics, but having them in a respectful manner that values the opinions of their people, and showing them that this is an organization that's inclusive of everyone, that we value the thoughts, we value diversity of thought from all around the table. And so we've developed it through that sense of just having those conversations, including the associations, as you said, whether it's our teachers, physical plant, food service, secretaries, our paras, in that decision-making process, making them feel that they have an ownership piece of what we're doing in the district, because they do. We know that our staff is our most crucial component of making sure our children learn, and so we want to make sure that they're involved in that. And the other thing that we try to do along with that is to see this as an ongoing relationship. It's not about just getting together at the negotiation table and hashing out a collective bargaining agreement. Actually, that should be a very small piece of what we do. And that might surprise people, but it's more important what we do the other 9 or 10 months of the year, those ongoing conversations that we're having around topics. And I've told you before, and I've told them, our new presidents for the Teachers Association, Andy Gann and Ben Mosier, are great, and I keep telling them I'm bringing them with me to a show, because I think it's just to be entertaining for you to see how we interact and hear some of the stories that we've shared, because it is really a great relationship, because when we can all come together behind the same goals, which is providing the best education possible for our students, I think we're able to accomplish a lot more. And so it has been a focus, but it's been a very enjoyable part of my relationship, of my time here in Iowa City so far.
Ben Mosier is my buddy, and
okay.
And I know that he's a camera shy. Honestly, I mean, I have to tell you, when we got invited to talk about alternative education, he would say, "Oh, honey, you go. You don't mind doing that, but I would." So he was a little bit hesitant. I can.
We'll get him out here. We
Yeah,
had
we have to.
we had Andy and him
Yeah.
up in front of the entire staff at our welcome back event
Right.
last summer, and they did a
Right.
great job of helping build that that
Right.
excitement about the new school year. So we'll get Ben to come out here and spend some time with us.
That's wonderful. So you meet kind of on regular basis to discuss problems once they start at the beginning, and now the other question is about the early retirement, because every year we hear this is the last year.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, what's the story about that?
The early retirement is something that has been a discussion piece with the association for several years, and it's something that will continue to go forward. It's really just a matter of what the parameters are going to be and what the incentive is going to be. And this year we offered a rather rich early retirement package. 85% of an employee's salary was what they were offered, a one-time lump sum payment if they took the early retirement. And we actually had about 45 teachers take it, and then another handful of classified staff. So over 50 folks took the early retirement this year from the district. We figured it up. Collectively, the teachers had generated something like 1,030 years of teaching experience between them, which, I mean, that's amazing to think about that, the impact this group of folks had on our students over the last, several decades. And it's an honor. I mean, it's a compliment to them, and it's an honor for us that they worked with us for this long, that they wanted to give their careers to our district, and we're so thankful that they did, and our students were the better for it. And so it's always bittersweet, because you see people that just made a tremendous impact leaving your district and leaving your schools, but you're also happy for them as they move on to a new adventure in their life. And this has been a good year in terms of that.
And step aside for the new generation,
Sure.
because
Sure.
you can't be serving forever.
Right.
You know? I mean, there should be somebody else to get trained to be as good as you were, right?
That's exactly right.
Well, thank you for continuing this. I know this is not an easy task, and it took a lot of effort from an administration to keep up with the program, especially when you promise high compensation like this. I think in our times it was 75%. It was not 85%, but
It's
yeah.
gone up and down over
Yeah.
the years, kind of based on where we are from a budgetary
Right.
standpoint. And
well, now as I look at my email, as a parent and as a citizen, I received from you request after request after request. Send me your feedback. This is the suggestion of the calendar. I am waiting for your feedback. And I tell you, I mean, you were nagging for people. Did you get what you expected or not? Let us be honest. I mean,
we did, and we don't want you to see it as nagging. We want the community to see it that we want their input, and we received a tremendous amount of input for
Good.
next year's calendar, and it was nice to get that input. We had a committee made up of different individuals within the organization that kind of put a draft calendar together, but we wanted a broader cross-section of input from the community to make sure we were on the right track, to see what kind of things they like, to see what kind of things they may want to see different, not only for this year, but as we go forward and build out the calendars. The superintendent's goal is that the calendar committee starts putting together a multi-year calendar. So we're not always coming back to the community or the drawing board or the Board of Education every winter saying, okay, here's the calendar for next year. That doesn't allow for great planning for anybody. And so we'd really like to get to a place where we can put out a 3-year calendar so that people know what's going to come a couple years in advance. And so we used one of our tools this year called engageiowacitieschools.org. It's a website, and it allows us to put questions on there to float ideas and to get input. And we used it for the calendar. We had hundreds of responses, and we were very pleased. One of the things that the community was really kind of instrumental about was when we start. We start in August. It can be hot, and so there was a lot of comment about, well, we want you to start a little bit later. And we understand that. I mean, that's one of the things, impetus behind part of the facilities master plan and doing the air conditioning pieces is trying to move that start date back. And if you look at our history, the community's not off base. We had 7 early outs this year for heat in the first 3 weeks of school. And so it's hot. And so it's something we need to take into consideration. And it's one of those things that we've been looking at. And it's nice to have that confirmation from the community that we're focusing our efforts in the right area by trying to address what we're going to do at the beginning of the school year.
Any major news other than that?
As was in the news over the winter from the board, there was a lot of passionate discussion about attendance at Martin Luther King Day, and we did go to school on that day this year, and by all accounts, we believe it was a success. Students were engaged. Our staff was engaged, and we received very good feedback on it. And so it was the other area that received a lot of input on the calendar. Again, very passionate and on both sides of folks that believed we should go on Martin Luther King Day, and those that thought that we should have families have the choice to celebrate that day in the way that they see fit. Now, the board had already made the decision that the school district will not go to school next year on Martin Luther King Day. It will be a holiday. We're going to treat it as a holiday for our students and our staff, not just our students. And so there was a lot of dialogue on that, and very respectful from all parties that weighed in. But those were the 2 really top areas that we looked at in terms of the feedback in the community was on when we were going to start, and then on the Martin Luther King Day were those 2 pieces.
A couple of parents sent me a comment. They knew that I'm going to see you tonight.
Oh, sure.
And they were not really affiliated with any party or anything, but they said, well, if the decision not to go to school on Martin Luther King's birthday, how about President Day? How about Columbus Day? How about that? Did you? Well, for them, this would maybe open a can of worms for the district in the future, because if you do this for someone who was not president, yes, he was a civil rights leader, maybe bigger than a president in his caliber, but why don't you do it for other people? So how can you address this?
I mean, I can't speak to that necessarily in a general sense, except that every school district's different and approaches it in different ways, and much of it is about the culture and the community in the city and the towns where you live, and historically and traditionally here in Iowa City, we've gone to school on Columbus Day, we've gone to school on President's Day, and we haven't gone to school on Martin Luther King Day. And so it's been one of those things that has been embedded in our practices, and I think in the culture and the fabric of the Iowa City community. And so without really trying to parse the details of that, I think that's really one of the best ways to look at that, is it speaks to more than just our school district. And I think that's what the board was talking to.
Culture of the community.
Right. And that's what the board was responding to also, is the culture of our bigger community.
We have definitely our culture here,
sure.
No doubt about that.
Right.
That's a very good answer, Doctor. I have in front of me the hour minute, and I tell you, sometimes I sob. But you know the truth. I mean, I love you, but it's painful. it's a process. I mean, it takes time to do this. From the moment you take off your card and put it in the machine, it doesn't go. And you go to the secretary, she leaves her desk, she goes there, she punches the numbers for you, and then you go and you start looking at the power school, looking for the sub, taking the attendance, and the class is already a mess because you lost a good 7 minutes trying to get to the sub. I tell you what, I mean, if and people know, I mean, our audience know that I say it as it is. It is painful. And is there any way to make it easy for some people? I mean, not everybody is 80 years old who's subbing. Not everyone is 60. But sometimes our generation is not that familiar like your generation with technology. You can punch it in a second and you are in. But we have to put a reading glass, we have to, honestly. So is there any way that you can make it a little easy? So when I get the call, would you sub? I don't get this fear of what I'm going to be facing.
Well, for you, I'll probably just make an exclusion. And we'll just call it the Hani rule and say if the Hani subs, we'll just take care of it down here at the HR office.
But there are many Hanis.
Yes.
That's a problem.
And the process you're referring to, I think, is the new time clock system. And I think we talked about this a little bit when I was here with Kira in the fall.
So what it is? Let us summarize it for the audience.
And it's a new system that we put in place this year in response to the federal regulations around the Affordable Care Act and some things that we felt we needed to do better in terms of how we were tracking employee time. And so we've implemented a time card system. As you said, you have to swipe your card or you need to type in your password, and like anything, it's just taking us some time to work all the bugs out. We're about 7 months into it, and while some would say that that's an extensive amount of time, we're still trying to get it figured out. And so we continue to, what we do is take feedback that we get from the Hanis of the world and the other folks, and try to continue to make that an easier system. And we'll continue to work on it. Like I said, we're still in the process of phasing it in, but hopefully by the beginning of next school year, it'll be even smoother than it is.
So let us leave Hanis special now
and
go more to the wide community. Now you are communicating, you are getting engaged with the community and parents, and for this rezoning whole issues. Can you shed some light? We have about 3 or 4 minutes.
Of course. This is one of the other big communication things we're doing this spring. Last year and through last fall, we were embedded in the facilities master planning, and after the board approved that and we started working on the phasing of some of those projects, the next phase was to look at the zoning of the district, because as we build new schools, as we have the diversity policy, we need to look at where our students are. But again, we want to make sure that we are fully engaged in the community, and so we're going through a comprehensive community engagement process this spring. And we're going to break the district into clusters or into certain zones. We're not going to try to do it all in one bite. We're going to divide it up a little bit. And so this spring we're doing 3 clusters, 2 elementary clusters, one with some of the northern elementary schools, kind of the schools above I-80, and then our Coralville schools, and then a southern southeast cluster, because our 2 new elementaries are coming, 2 of our 3 new elementaries that are coming on, one in the south and one in the north. And so we're going to look at those clusters first. And then we're also going to look at a secondary cluster. And what's going to happen is the week before spring break, we're going to have a district-wide engagement meeting to get the district's input on what kind of things do they want us to look at, what kind of parameters do they want us to take into consideration when we look at how we're going to rezone. So we can get a feel so that everybody can kind of get an idea of what the framework's going to be. Then we're going to come back from spring break, and the clusters are going to be on a rotation. And so the elementary clusters will be like during week A, and then the secondary cluster will be during week B. And they'll just go back and forth over a 6-week period. So there'll be 3 meetings of each cluster so that we can continue to get input, refine the scenarios, and then hopefully take a recommendation to the board by the end of May for new attendance zones to go into effect the beginning of the 2015 school year. So not this fall, because we want, after we get them decided, we want to give everybody enough time to kind of get their heads wrapped around it and ready for those changes. And so it would be implemented the next school year. But we're very excited. The process we thought went great for facilities master planning. So we're taking some of those components we liked and trying to bulk them up a little bit more and go through this process this spring. Like I said, it'll start with a meeting at Northwest Junior High on March 12th. That's the entire community engagement meeting. And then we'll break it into smaller clusters over the weeks after spring break. The board just got the report on it, and we're excited. They're excited about it, and we're ready to move forward with it. Sorry, I was rushing because we're getting the stop sign. I'm so used to it now.
John Karhoff,
Yeah.
is a very precise man.
And they'll get after you, and I don't want to get you in trouble.
And he doesn't want to. But every time I see you, I feel delighted, and I'm sure the audience too. And I wish you all the best.
Well, thank you.
Especially with this new role that you are the fittest for, and I'm so happy that we are going to be in communication more. Our group, Mike Peterson, John Karhoff, Sarah Tate, and Josh, and you with us. That would make a wonderful team to get this program as well.
Most definitely.
Because we are on Channel 21, and this is for our audience on Channel 18. I would like you to watch your listing because we are discussing very, very important topics in this program. Extremely important topics.
Always.
Always. And in the meantime, we are on YouTube. Any one of you who would like to see a program that you missed, you will find us on YouTube, and we have everything. We have more than 1,000 programs there you can select from. And so thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate being here, but as always, I'm the one that's lucky enough to come sit with you, but what I do is a credit to a number of people. I have a great team. We have great folks
what
throughout
I
the
like
district.
the most, I love lawyers, but you are a lawyer with a big smile, and in the meantime, you never used cliche answers for any question. You always say the truth and with sincerity and honesty, and for this, you have our highest regards.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen,